Hello and welcome to Compelled to Impact, a channel where experts share wisdom, knowledge, experiences, and ways you can renew your mind and transform your life. This is episode 60, Your Peaceful Passage Plan, Part 2. I could finish up this subject right now by saying the only way to prepare for a peaceful passage out of this life is to live each day to the fullest with joy, compassion, grace, and love. Your peaceful passage to the other side depends on how you live each passage peacefully and joyfully in this life. People who live each moment choosing these higher level vibrations are aligned with their spirit and higher power, or God. This keeps them moving forward in their divine purpose, leaving nothing out with no regrets. It's not always an easy choice, since there are always so many moving parts with people and circumstances that are not in your control. However, it is the one choice that, despite what you cannot control, takes you through your life and into the next with the same level of joy, compassion, grace, and love. That's the catch, to move into what resonates for you despite difficult people and challenging situations that might make you so afraid to really live with boldness and courage that there's no fullness of joy and nothing left to experience the satisfaction of abundant wholeness when this life is over. There are also very real entrapments in a life that are the entrapments are too overwhelming to see how to make it stop. Have you ever been in a rip current, desperately trying to get out? I was 10 years old the first time I was caught in a rip current at the beach in Santa Monica. I was swimming past the breaking waves and was suddenly pulled down. The churning water kept pulling me up and down until I couldn't tell where the top of the water was anymore. I realized what was happening, and although it seemed counterintuitive, I stopped fighting the current and tried to relax. It only took a minute or so, but seemed much longer until I was finally out of that frightening turmoil. In many situations, the harder you try to make it better, the more difficult it becomes. Have you ever been in a relationship where the other person is accusing or combative? You just want to bring some understanding into the conflict, but with every word you say, you're digging yourself deeper, and it only becomes worse. It's because the other person isn't ready to hear anything. So the best action to take is to walk away. No matter what you say, it won't make a difference except to agitate the other already agitated person. Get away from there immediately, if not sooner. Once you can see clearly your best way to live in joy, empathy, and compassion, being courageous to move forward, even when something feels too big and scary, it makes much more sense to see the end of life on this earth as the joyous transition it was meant to be. I speak from experience of devastation throughout my life. Some of it was physical, but most of it was heart and soul damage that often left me without hope. The details aren't as important as the fact that when you lose hope for yourself and your life, your connection with your spirit becomes thin and frayed. If you have ever felt disconnected from your very being on the inside, or that you've lost your way or your contact with God or your higher being, your higher power, this is what is happening. You are not as broken as you think you are. It's just that your pilot light has gone out or gone down. Usually there's gunk around it that needs to be cleaned up. How do you find your way back? Is it even possible? Thinking about how this will end begins to take over your mind. You might lose your will to try, and you just give up on yourself. I learned the hard way that it doesn't matter how many other people give up on you or who they are. If you give up on yourself, that is the most destructive in your soul, your heart and mind. That's when we agree with and accept the harmful thoughts and emotions that are most toxic. One even more damaging side effect is that vindictive people see this vulnerability and take advantage of kicking you when you're down, using you for their agenda when you're in a weak position. You've either heard about it, seen it, or been there, and it is a really hard place to be. It does help to eventually figure out where the catalyst for you to stop believing in yourself came from. Who caused these initial thoughts to begin, whether by their words or actions? However, at this point, you are in a crisis mode and there's no time for triage. This is not the time to go backwards in your mind to find the person or persons responsible for setting off this trajectory. You're not really in the best place for this, and all it does is find someone to blame. And that's not what life is about. As an adult, we must take personal responsibility for cleaning up our gunk. Always remember that they only knew what they learned, and most of it was never meant to destroy you. It was just misinformed and thoughtless on their part. When people only regurgitate what they know or always seem to be angry, it's hardly ever about you. That's the only way they know how to relate to others or situations. So it's necessary to have compassion and grace in those moments. That doesn't mean you need to stay around them. You can still love them from a distance. Therefore, when you are in this crisis, going back to the source is not the best place to look for reasons or answers. The best thing you can do at this point is follow the urgency. Take personal responsibility for setting yourself on your right path, the one intended for you to become your masterpiece in this life. Write down each feeling or thought phantom that is or can be destructive. Choose the top 3 that you want to address right now. Put the others away until you have changed the narrative in your thoughts, words, and actions. Then use this process to rise above what has been decaying inside of you. What has disconnected you from your source of unconditional love, God? Sometimes, almost magically, once you begin this process, there seem to be words on your list that disappear on their own with those that you've already worked through. Using one of these 3 words at a time, go through each of these steps at your pace and write down or record your thoughts and feelings so that you can look at it when you're finished to see your progress. And if there's anything else that needs your attention. This is very simple and much quicker after the first few times. You don't even really need to write it down. You just do it in your mind and it's a lot easier. Excuse me. Acknowledge the detrimental feeling or thought. You can say something like, yes, I feel like I've failed too many times to even start again, because maybe someone's told you that, but it's never true. Don't believe them. So acknowledge it. Accept that it has been part of your life and that you have even allowed it to stay there. You didn't know any better at that moment. So there it is. And you felt destroyed by it. And that's understandable too, but no longer. Maybe you've gone one step further and used a substance or action to make you feel better while the phantom feeling stares at you from a dark corner. And say something like this: I accept personal responsibility for how I've let this become part of my life. And then use online shopping sprees to make me feel better. I don't do that. Release and surrender, number 3. Your actions related to the phantom that's followed you around until now. Say something like this: I surrender this failure, I guess that's where we started, and everything associated with it, releasing it from having any control over my life. You, the failure, the feeling of failure, have no power in my life anymore. Get out of here. This is the act of letting go, as if it has been a weapon used against you by others and yourself. You can add, I surrender this phantom thing, and hold space open to only be filled with what creates love, compassion, grace, and joy. And then number 4, receive the gift of freedom to savor each moment and passage of life, to choose love and joy in your health, wealth, and relationships. Then do something that makes you feel free and grounded, like go outside, take a short or long walk, breathe fresh air, or at least take some slow, deep breaths. Drink water because you need to stay hydrated, or call a friend and spread the love. Write in your journal if you can do that to celebrate what you just did. And repeat those steps until that one feeling is gone, or the first 3 that you're working on. I promise that I am getting to the practical side of preparing for a peaceful and satisfactory end of life when you are actually at that point. Not to make it hurry up, because what we need to do is replace all those difficult responses inside of us with the really good stuff. Meanwhile, these steps are just as important, because living to the fullest is the best way to make every minute and every transition count. That's it for now. Thank you for listening to my channel, for subscribing, sharing, and interacting. Keep seeking and learning. Stay open to possibilities of grace, compassion, and love everywhere you go. And as always, live excellently, give generously, and love lavishly. Ciao for now. Mwah.